All right, so tell us your name, your background, and where you're from.
My name is Robert Kendal. I'm from Miami, Florida. I grew up there until I was 18 years old, and then I moved to Tallahassee, Florida, where I attended Florida State University, and then I moved to New York about 8 years ago.
So, what brought you to New York? I mean, Florida is such a different place than the big city. What brought you out here?
I'm not sure. Something after college just told me to go for it. I figured that if I didn't go for it when I was young, I was never going to do it, and I knew I always wanted to live here at some point. So at 21, I just moved here.
Nice. So, what do you do here in the city? How long have you been here, and what do you do for work, or do you go to school, or what's your situation like?
I've been here for 8 years. I work at a publishing company. I'm a content manager and writer. I do editing, I do blog writing, I do copy editing, project management, prioritizing, and I've been at that job for 4 years.
So, tell me a little bit about your job. What is your most favorite thing about your job, and what's the least favorite thing?
I would say my favorite thing is copy editing. So I like taking something that someone else has written and figuring out a way to fix a few things here and there and make it better.
And what's your least favorite thing about work?
My least favorite thing is I would say I don't work in a very social office. So I'm a very social being and I like interacting with people or saying hello. And I just feel like everybody has their blinders on and most people don't really acknowledge each other. So I don't feel like it's a very positive, welcoming environment.
So, what part of the city is your job located in, and what part of the city do you live in, and how's your commute?
My job is located near Penn Station, so it's right across the street. It's on 34th and 8th. And I live in Astoria. My commute, depending on when I leave, I can be at work in like 35 minutes, so the commute is pretty great.
Sounds nice. So, that part of the city can get, very busy at times. Does that affect the way you are when you get to work or when you leave work? How do you like all that noise and that traffic?
I think it really depends on the kind of day you're having because there's a lot of homeless people, a lot of commuters. So if you're having a great day, it doesn't really get to you. But if you're having a bad day, I feel like it exacerbates the situation and it makes you feel worse.
So let's talk about maybe a bad situation at work. Have you ever had an issue where you had a conflict with someone else or someone had a conflict with you, and what happened?
Well, I've had a few, but one that comes to mind was within my first 6 months of working. I had a few questions from my boss regarding a new assignment she had given me. And I'm the kind of person that I like to ask until I understand completely what it is that I'm doing. So she was walking by and I asked her a question and she immediately snapped and said, "Robert, we've been over this before." And I don't know if she realized it or not, but we hadn't been over it before. And it was a new assignment that I had never seen or dealt with. And so that was kind of a conflict right there, was like, how do I react to this? And how do I, try to make the situation better?
So you mentioned to me about the conflict that you had with your boss and that she snapped at you and told you, well, she kind of shut you down immediately and said, we've already discussed this, which you hadn't previously discussed. So how did that make you feel?
It made me feel like my question wasn't valid, and I felt belittled in the sense that I was expected to know protocol for something that I was never explained. And it wasn't the kind of assignment that was kind of common sense where you run with it. It was like a very specific task that you needed to be trained on in order to complete it accurately.
Emotionally, how did that make you feel?
I felt insulted. I felt like my question wasn't valid, and I kind of felt looked down upon.
So, did you end up finishing the project?
I did finish it, but we had to kind of come to a agreement together.
So tell me about that process. What happened between the time that you asked the question and the time that you finished the project? How were you able to execute this, given the fact that she had shut you down? What was the process like for you?
So once she told me that we had gone over it before, I kind of just not snapped, but just immediately I said, no, we haven't. And I would appreciate if you didn't speak to me that way. And I would also appreciate your help so that I don't do it incorrectly.
And what was her response?
I think in that moment she was taken back, like I was a new person. So at that moment she walked back to her desk and I just started working on something else.
So tell me, what did she do as someone with authority? Obviously, she's your boss, your supervisor. What was it that she did to make things better, and what is it that you did to, what helped you be able to finish your job?
So we kind of avoided each other for the rest of the day, and about 30 minutes before I left, she came up to me and she actually apologized for the way that she handled it, and then we went over it together. And then from there, the next day, I was able to go in and complete the assignment.
How did it make you feel when she acknowledged, that she obviously hadn't done things correctly, and when she tried to fix things, how did that make you feel, and did it help you resolve the issue?
It made me feel a lot better, and I felt justified in my reactions. And it also made me feel like, maybe she does care about me as an employee instead of just, a worker.
Nice. Looking back on the situation, is there anything that you could have done differently or that she could have done differently to avoid this situation?
I feel like she could watch how she reacts to things. I feel like my reaction was kind of bold for a new worker, but I don't regret anything I did because it kind of showed her where I stood, and it kind of forced her to do her job as a manager and make sure that we're both on the same page so that it could get done.
Okay, great. So my final question to you is, was there anything affecting you outside of work that might have made you snap back at her, or was this just a simple reaction?
No, I think it was a reaction really in that moment, because it was also, it wasn't what she said, it was also how she said it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.